So now that we've created our class, we're going to want to be able to actually use our class or to create an object. So let's go ahead and go into our main Hello World program where we have our main here, and let's try to create a new instance of this class. So in order to do that, we're just going to create a variable, just like we had done before with primitive types, but this time we're using the type printer. And one quick shortcut that you can do here is in Java, if you happen to know you have this class printer, in Eclipse you can hold Control Shift and O, and what that is going to do is auto import any kind of packages that are needed in order to access that type. And there's two ways I can do this. I can do printer, and we'll call this P equals new printer, and then I can hit Control Shift O, and it's going to automatically create this import statement. And what this does is this basically brings this package's name into our class so that we can use it. If something is declared in printer, right now we're in this greetings package, so we need to be in the printing package in order to use a printer. And this import statement is very specific, saying I want you to import this class that I'm going to use, this printing.printer class. We could have also just imported everything in the printing namespace, but typically in Java we just import what we need. The other way that I could do this is I could start typing printer. So I'll take out this import statement, and if I hold down Control and hit space, and I start typing some of the rest of the letters, I can see there's a printer here, and if I select this and hit enter, you can see it's automatically added this import statement for me. So let's create our printer. We'll create a variable called myPrinter, and then we need to assign this variable. And in Java, in order to create an instance of an object from a class, we use a special keyword called new and a special syntax of calling a method on the class that is called the constructor. So what we're going to do is we're going to do new printer, and then we're just going to do a begin parentheses and an end parentheses. And what this does is this calls what's called a default constructor on the printer. It's something we haven't created yet, and we're going to cover this a little bit more in detail later, but for now just know that this is the basic syntax for creating a new object out of a class that you've defined. Now, another thing that we're going to want to be able to do is to actually make this printer be specific, be different than any other printer. So in order to do that, we're going to need to actually set the data on this printer. And what we can do here now is we can call myPrinter and dot is just a way of calling a method or accessing data on an object. So in this case, we only have data. We don't have any methods that we've created. So we want to set the isOn state to false, and we can do myPrinter dot model number, and we'll set this to ABCD. So now we actually have a printer, and this printer is now specific. It has a state, it has a model number. Now in a real class, a real printer class, you'd probably have a lot more data than this. For this example, we're just going to set this data. We could create another printer called your printer, just like this, and then we could set different data on this. We could say your printer dot is on equals true, and your printer dot model number equals FGH. So now we have two different kinds of printers that have different data. So you can see the difference between a class and an object. These are two different objects, but they're defined in terms of this class. So let's prove that we have some data on our printer. Let's go ahead and print out what the model number is for my printer. In order to do that, I'm going to call system.out.println, and then I'm going to pass my printer dot model number. And again, we're using this dot syntax to get the value out of this variable. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. You can see that it's printed ABCD, which is the model number. And right below this, if I printed from your printer the model number, we would see that it's indeed different. And that one is FGH. So you can see here that we're able to create an object. It's really simple. We just have to use this syntax. We declare the variable to store the object, give it a name, and then we call this new in order to call the constructor on our class.